Today is September 29th, 23. I put it up on Facebook about these people being child molesters. When you're a human trafficker, you sell women and children for sex slaves and to be murdered. It makes you a serial killer and a child molester. In 2018, they were on me. They were bragging they were drug trading and human trafficking. They were admitting they were selling people to make them prostitute the rest of their lives around me. Okay? By January of 19, December of 18, January 19, there's men in the mall and they're in there bragging. And they're like, they're nothing but fucking child molesters doing it to her. They're all a bunch of nothing but fucking child molesters doing this to her. Okay? And they're walking around complaining they're nothing but a bunch of fucking child molesters doing this to her. Okay? You're selling human beings for sex slaves and murder, women and children. You're nothing but a bunch of fucking child molesters. That's who's harassing me, lying on me, is fucking child molesters. The ones that are running a big drug scam, breaking in people's homes, stalking them, breaking in, roofing them with date rape, amnesia drugs, so they're sleepwalking. Tell them to say something stupid and they didn't even talk to anybody or have them in their home. They'd break in and stab them with a date rape drug. It's called needling someone. They do it in bigger cities. Huh? Spike my 2-liter Diet Coke and I get dizzy after I take a drink and think I work too hard. Wake up with bruises, infected, thinking what on earth is wrong with me? I didn't even leave my home. They're human trafficking people under drugs and then scamming the victim by stalking them and then photoshopping them and drugging them up, and when they're raping them, telling them to say something stupid and drugging them up and leaving marks as far as orange, lemon, grapefruit. Do you know how bad I hurt? Do you know how bad that hurt to have those? My muscles hurt everywhere. I was in so much pain. I went to the doctor. I don't know what's wrong with me. And they're like, did you fall? No. I don't even know where these marks came from. I've been throwing up, headache. I've almost passed out several times. My personal area is all swollen and infected to the point I couldn't know how to go to the bathroom. Gave me iron pills, thinking I'm becoming anemic. Stuff for headaches, dizzy, nauseousness. And then pills and creams for the personal infection. It was so bad. Here I'm being drugged, beaten, raped in my own home. By the drug cartel that's human trafficking. That's who's doing this. They're scamming people in their own homes. It's a big drug, like they said, it's a big drug scam from the drug dealers, human trafficking. We put a nice name on serial killers. Do you realize FBI agent John, where Lighthouse Tabernacle made fun of FBI agent John for falling for the stunner tapes before? Oh, come on now. That FBI agent made fun, fell for the stunner tapes before. Is that what's going on? FBI agent John fell for the stunner tapes before. Ha 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 ha. They were fooled by child molesters. And the cult that hired child molesters. Ones that were selling women and children for sex slaves. They hired the Lighthouse Tabernacle and the other apostolic churches hired child molesters. And the drug cartel that are selling women and children for sex slaves. That's who they hired. That's where Pete's involved. Where Dave said he hired Pete on his own, his girlfriend's dad. I'll tell you what, I went out to eat with friends with the sheriff, okay? And he said, well, you know, that Pete has to be a child molester. And he said, for that Michelle to find it funny that they drug, beat, and raped you, and they publicly humiliated you for her to find any of this funny, Pete's had to rape her and make her that mentally sick. Or she wouldn't find it funny they hurt you. He's had to rape her. And he's a child molester. There was a retired judge in Florida human trafficking people with 100 men. That makes him a child molester. He's selling women and children for sex slaves and to be murdered. That's where Eric made fun of everybody for falling for it. He was a wanted stalker. He's a drug cartel guy. That's human trafficking. Goes to parties. I don't understand. Why are you having a child molester that's a serial killer in your home? I look at these people like, are you this effing stupid? He went to a party. He was a socialite. The real life of the party, how he fooled everyone into helping out. He walked in to Walmart 62 on November 18, 22. However, all the tapes before were him and not me, and that they were done for a stunt for everybody to turn on me. They actually filed for it. Ha, 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 ha. Well, he went to a party. How he made fools of all these people. I'd like to know, why did they have him at a party? He's a drug cartel guy that's selling human beings for sex slaves and murder. Huh? You let a child molester and a serial killer around your family and friends. Why? They told people in Louisville in January of 23, I was out walking, don't say a word to her. It's January or February, something like that, first of the year. Don't you say a word to her. The people they hired are taking people and selling them. They're child molesters. That's who the Apostolic Church has hired. Serial killers and child molesters. That's who's down here lying on me. Where it's a big drug scam, breaking in people's homes, stalking them. You can't stalk people. You can't be in their home. And their fake sodium pentothal reports. The date rape roofies. There was LSD, acid, where you walk around hallucinating and with no memory in the 1960s. There was amnesia drugs in the 1960s. That was 60 years ago. They've refined them. Huh? We call them roofies now. Amnesia drugs, you're sleepwalking for 4 to 6 hours under somebody else's control. I've talked to sheriffs about it. Huh? That's where they fooled that some child molester, some drug card child molester. Fooled an FBI agent? Do you realize those agents were laughing at me on a recorded line for my rapist I never met? Dave told Danny he hired Pete on his own. His girlfriend's dad. In the drug cartel. Huh? I didn't even know who he was for another year. They laughed at me for my rapist on a recorded line. They had been in with their own admission. They had talked to Strange and they had talked to Dave. With their own admissions and laughing at me. I told you people, well, today I was up in Akron and down the street some guy was complaining with a girl. Said that guy that claims he's Karen's Will thinks he's funny saying he taped her before. And we found out it was him bullying her into saying she was faking she was sick. That's not funny he did that. That girl's like, I've been telling people not to say a word to her. That's not funny he did that. See, other girls were complaining at Acme. We told Will it's not funny. He said he would taped her before, one of the FBI agents. And it was him bullying her into saying she was faking she was sick, and we all know what was wrong with her, and it's not funny he did that to her. Then act like he bullied her into saying something dirty. See, on a recorded line, the night before he was at that church. I want you to remember this, Will. I want you to remember. I want you to think back. Somebody walked by and said, I actually seen him at that church that night. Because where I called the FBI hotline and I gave him about 80% of the stuff that had happened. Okay? And then they drugged me up so bad for 3 days. And the third day, I'm sitting on the front porch holding my head. What's wrong with me? I feel drunk and I don't drink. It's a sign of being roofied. Feeling intoxicated when you don't drink, when it wears off. And I gotta get air in my face. I gotta call that guy back where he left his number on my voicemail. And I went out and started mowing the lawn. I thought of Sarah. I gave that hotline her number. I better make sure it's okay. I gave it to her. So I call her. Of course, it's getting darker and scarier the way she's talking about it. She's telling people in the mall it'd been her church trying to kill me. They had a permanent plan to do away with me. And I had 4 attempts on my life in a year. So I get changed and I go out and I get a card, put that agent's number in it. Dave gets home and I talk him into taking me down the mall. We drop it off. Her manager puts it in her locker. We go up to Apostolic Church of Barberton. Paul Paymer got in Dave's face. My God, I had an FBI agent in my office. He's right there. I walk off and as he's still screaming at him, how dare you bring the FBI up here with threats on her life? Women walk up, he knows she's being drugged, beaten, raped, and he said he didn't care. I have bruises all over me. I've been throwing up. I've lost 18 pounds. And I had a severe swollen personal infection in my heart, sunk up my stomach. Is that what's going on? I walk in and there's this guy that looks like this guy from a cooking show sitting there. And a guy with an expensive gray suit, older white guy, skin's discolored. And he's going like this, looking at those people, scowling at them. And I almost thought that was Will. Okay? I go in and I sit down. And they sit down behind me, those women. He said he knows she's being drugged, being raped, and he said he didn't care. If she was going to be faking she was sick and faking she got well while that family was grieving, he didn't care what they did to her, and he was going to turn her back over to him. Can you imagine an agent saying that? Dave comes in, let's go. It was strange as like, because he thought I caught his son in adultery, so he made it up on me. It was my sister that caught his son in adultery of her husband. And where Linda came up to me, I was following him again. I got caught. I think they thought it was you. I'm sorry. Be careful, and runs off. My sister Laura used to follow my mom. Stupidest thing, Linda would never confront him. Other people in the church know about it. They went out in public places together. They got caught. And everybody's too afraid to say something to strange, because they'll get thrown out. Okay? But here he thinks I would say something. So he lied on me. Strange just made up a lie. Got rid of me real quick. Discredited me. He's the only one that made up that lie. He thought I caught his son in adultery. Okay? Alright. Dave comes in, let's go. We get out in the truck. He looked at me and said, I'd kill you myself. And he starts trying to punch me in the truck until I almost jumped out on the highway. I ran from him when I got home. Next morning, I have to call that agent back. Rivers of tears. Scared out of my mind. The bad people show back up. Okay? And there's been attempts on my life. Now they're here. Okay? I tell him somebody told on me to that church. He called me a liar. It was verified by officers it was him. Now, Will or John, I want you to think about it. Do you remember the old man in a really nice suit, very expensive, scowling at people, walked by the one guy that looked like from the cooking show, scowling at him? Some guy walked by my apartment the other night when I put it in my other tape, said I did see that guy up there that night. He showed up later and told people he was a human trafficker. That's who that FBI agent was in that church with. And that human trafficker was scowling at him. The godless people, so-called godly people, hire child molesters and serial killers, and he hated them. You could just see the detest on his face. Okay? Well, I tell that agent someone told him, he called me a liar. Because it was him. He didn't want the name of the church, because how would they find out? Well, the answer is in with their own answers. They've been in contact with David Strange. Think about what they're saying on a recorded line. Okay? Dave told Danny you talked to him. Okay? I tell him about the guy that threatened to knife me. Okay? Calls me a liar. I told him he tried to kidnap me before. He calls me a liar. Terry let me tape her with her permission. He killed Lori's family member here in town. I work with her. He was a wanted serial killer with a bounty on his head. A big one. Big reward to find out who he is. That's how stupid it is. Okay? That's who they hired. I tell him he tried to kidnap me before. Like I said, Terry let me tape her with her permission. He took Marlisa's niece. He's part of the human traffickers. He's a serial killer. That's who that agent let go. Was there a camera above that bench or not? I don't know. Either say you're lying or I'll arrest you. Now, I said, I don't know if there's a camera above the bench. Either say you're lying or I'll put you in jail. You hear me screaming at me. It's like, fine, whatever. Then he sort of chuckled. He let a serial killer go that went on killing. Still loose. That had a bounty on his head, and they knew what he looked like Marlisa said. Where they took her niece, the authorities know what he looks like. And he let him go. Okay. And then he's like, I want you to say you were faking you were sick. It was a medication error. Documented. Medication error. Medication error. I told you I had all those surgeries. I gave the statements of how I had all those surgeries. Went into fibromyalgia. My muscles locked up from being cut on so many times. Went to pain management. They gave me the wrong medication and falsely diagnosed me across the board, and I swelled up like a balloon all the way from my toes to my head. And they almost killed me. I had to get with Dr. Eli on high doses of pain medicine, get off that other medicine, and it took me 9 months to get well. Nothing was instantaneous. It took me 9 months of working out, and I was deflating like a balloon. That's why I got like 3 arms. Got all this extra skin on my arms. Because I went from 105 pounds to 250 in like 6 to 8 months. I was swollen from my toes and into all the way up into my brain. I had, I told you my thyroid quit working because of the drugs they were giving me. My adrenal gland, my pituitary gland was swelling. My heart was getting off. My legs were so swollen they were popping out of place. My feet are this thick. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think like that thick. It was terrible. I was falling. I had Keens and braces because I was so swollen. It was horrible. And that's where the doctors, where they were wanting to do brain surgery and said I had brain tumors. And some other guys wanting to put a colostomy bag on me because my stomach's bleeding from the medication. It's just like, stop going to them. They're making you sick. We're going to have a long talk about what those doctors are doing. They have falsely diagnosed you across the board. You have what we call the golden ticket insurance company. Pays for almost everything. And what they're doing is they're falsely diagnosing you, write out these big prescriptions. And she took her hand and literally wrote it like a check. She said they're getting kickbacks from the drug companies from $200 to $1,000 per bad prescription they're giving you. And those prescriptions are causing these side effects. And they're stop going to them. The only thing's wrong with you is your muscles locked up from having all those surgeries. Well, Joanne Young had told me about Dr. Eli. Get you on high doses of pain medicine, get you out moving, you get better. It's desperate. Went in there, he said the same thing. See, that doctor encouraged me and Dave to sue him for 2 years after I got well. He said the same thing. I get you off those medications. You'll be surprised how fast you get well. I lost 30 pounds the first month. Deflated like a balloon. I have scars all over my stomach and my back. I have an MRI report showing the swelling. I have the false diagnosis of brain tumors. I have brain swelling. There's a big difference. I had I have blood work showing where my thyroid and adrenal gland stopped working. I had it ended up in the cardiac ward. My heart got off. And where I got with Dr. Eli, he put me on fentanyl. They don't give you fentanyl. It's 100 times stronger morphine if you're faking. My muscles were locked tight and hard. You got to move them. I got to get you out enough pain to move them. Once we get you moving, blood flow will get into them. And once blood flow gets into them, you build new muscle tissue. But you got to actually be able to move them. And I got to get you out enough pain. It took me 9 months. I told you I deflated like a balloon. Within 6 months, 7 months, I was down to 16. From a 24, I went down to a 16. I was almost well when Phil ran a stop sign and killed him and his grandson. Had nothing to do with it. My whole family's at home. 2 months later, Dr. Eli was even getting upset. You're not getting well fast enough. He thought I'd get well faster. He had a lady run on a treadmill in 9 months. Got her out there moving. Her muscles were hers locked up. He had to run on a treadmill in 9 months. I learned to walk by 9 months. Everybody gets well at their own pace. I was pulling myself around malls, back allotments, stores, doing my own grocery shopping. He even wanted to put weights on my legs. I couldn't handle it, the extra pain. But I got well 2 months later. Nothing to do with nothing. I told you a missionary showed up, prayed for me, gave me the stupidest lecture. I want you to fight through the pain. I want you to rebuke the pain. I've been doing that for 9 months. I want you to try to walk by faith. Well, he's a long-winded minister. I had my feet hanging down for that long. They went numb again. And I fell backwards. And I took my canes and I left. And then the next day on the paper out, nothing happened. The next day, and then the next day, it finally went in remission 80% of the time. Took me 2 more months before I quit falling. And 4 months to get off the fentanyl. Fibromyalgia is a pain syndrome where muscles lock up from being hurt, and I had 6 to 10 surgeries. If I would have never went to those crackpots, and if I would have just stayed in bed for about a year and let all those muscles heal, I would have never got so sick. But stupid me, went out and thought pain management would help. The witch doctors don't go there. Well, the ones I went to really ripped me off. It made me very, very sick. And that's where Altman Family Physicians told me and my ex-husband to sue them for 2 years. They almost killed you. Okay? I told you, 4 months later, that thing with Brian, he was a 17-year-old kid. His friend Brandy was dating the grandson, strangest grandson, Mike. Well, she showed up and he didn't like her outfit, so he made fun of her over a pulpit in front of everybody. He was mean like that. He didn't like you to tell you off over the pulpit in front of people. He was horrible. And she got upset and went out with Brian being 17. They had sex. 17-year-olds do that. He wanted him shunned for that. Everybody, how dare he cheat with my grandson's girlfriend. he's not welcome in the church, you're to shun him. That's stupid. He's a little kid and made a mistake. But his own son's cheating. He had been up there. He's so two-faced. His own son's cheating. But a little 17-year-old kid. Been up there preaching that scripture, sin has to be removed 3 or 4 generations, or you can't have a minister come out of that bloodline, or there'll be a curse on that church. And here his own son's cheating, and his grandson's going to be the next minister. So my sister, it was the stupidest thing I told you. My sister would follow him around everywhere. My mom followed him. My sister Lori. My son Josh knew of it. My sister Pam, Linda would tell her how they would follow him. Everybody knew. And then there was other people in church knew him. They went out to public places and got caught. One time when they had got caught by several people, Strange was up there preaching somebody has sin in their life, they need to come up and repent. Well, Tim went up and repented. And he said, whatever is in his life, no one's to mention, and he repented it. He didn't want him to actually confess to it. You know what I mean? And then he turns around and goes right back out with her. And my sister came up to me. I could still see where I was standing. I was in the sanctuary of that church, 3 or 4 pews in by the stained glass windows. I was talking to someone. She walks up and said, I was following them again. I think they caught me. Or they caught me, and I think they thought it was you. I'm sorry, be careful, runs off. Well, the next week he told everybody that I was faking, I was sick and faking, I got well. It's such a bunch of hawk and bullshit. Hawk and bullshit. Hawk and bullshit. They worship him like a god, like he said he owned the building. He's a minister with a low education. Ruled that place with fears and lies. He lied on all kinds of people. Lied on Dave White that he blasphemed God, tried to kill himself, and only thing he did is switch churches. Lied on Heather, lied on Ron himself. That he was cheating with Connie. He never cheat on Lisa. That's stupid. They were just friends. That's where he just lied. He controlled with fear and lies. He made up a lie on me. And so that he'd discredit me and get me out of that church. Because his son was cheating. And I told Dave and I got in a big fight. What were you thinking following him? I said, it wasn't me, it was Linda. I was at church with you. Well, they can't let it get out that that he's cheating. It'll ruin it for Nick, and he couldn't be a pastor. And if he was, people talk bad about him. I said, what did you think I was going to do? Stand in the middle of the room, they're committing adultery, start screaming it? Seriously? That's stupid. She's not going to say anything. I don't even know why they're following him. Got to the point it's stupid. She'd follow him and catch him and not say a word. Other people caught him. They went out in public places together. It was that stupid. Okay? But yeah, he discredited me and threw me out. Then I found out right before the case started, someone said, well, Dave was supposed to make it up to single church women. I said he better not have been making up anything to no single church women. Well, he was supposed to teach you a lesson by taking him out and going out behind your back. That's not teaching me a lesson. That's letting him openly cheat. Why do they have long hair, uncut hair, and long skirts if they're going to commit adultery? Hire child molesters that are serial killing children and women. And have somebody drug, beat, and raped. Cut your fucking hair off. Put a bikini on. Put a beer in your hand and a cigarette in the other hand. And act like stinking prostitutes you are. Stop putting fake garb on. That you're not serial killers yourself. That's where Lighthouse Tabernacle. This is where going into the statement where that agent on a recorded line told you I told him someone told on me. He didn't want the name of the church. Why? Because it was him. It was verified by officers that it was him. Dave told Danny to talk to him. He didn't want the name of the church because it was him. By his own admission with the other agent, they were both involved with him. Laughing at me for being a human trafficking victim being scammed. I told him about the guy that threatened to knife me, and then he had tried to kidnap me. He's calling me a liar. You either say a liar and I'll put you in jail. Then him saying, you either admit you were faking you were sick, or I won't help you. But I really was sick. It was a medication error, and it's documented it was. Okay? I really was sick before. You either say you were faking you were sick, or I won't help you. I said, but I was sick before. You either say it or I won't help you. So I said it. He starts cackling at me like a jackass on a recorded line. Okay? Why would the FBI help a person like you? They're going to try to kill me. So, they care about Amish men's beards, but apostolics can kill people? I said they've tried to kill me, so? Apostolics can kill people, but Amish men can't cut off beards. There's something wrong with this. Give me a real reason why we should help you. Some other, John yells out, well, we could use some, Pete's tape weird with yourself. It's a shower scene photoshopped by the child molesters playing with me. Drug cartel playing with me hard. On a big jerk scam. They got fooled by child molesters. Child molesters. Dave told Danny he hired Pete on his own. His girlfriend's dad, I was talking to a sheriff, said you do realize for Michelle to find any of this funny and to participate in any of it, Pete had to rape her. Or she wouldn't find any of this funny. He had to make her this mean and mentally sick. Okay? And I don't even know who Pete is. The only Pete I know is my brother in Medina. I said, what is he talking about? Then he yells out something about Pete again. I've never met Pete and I've never talked to him. I said, what are you talking about? The guy's giggling. Stop. She doesn't know. Why don't I know? Because it's a roofie confession and a Photoshop shower scene and stalking tapes by the drug cartel that was human trafficking people. And he's one of them, and there's a child molester. Okay? Breaking in, scamming people under drugs. Okay? And he's laughing at me and calling out my rapist's name. Laughing at me. And I don't even know who he's talking about. Stop, she don't know. Ha 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 ha. Give me a real reason. Well, my brother-in-law was a private consultant for the FBI on restricted war weapons, worked at the Pentagon under Dick Cheney. That makes him CIA. Oh, well, I can move you out and leave you somewhere, but it comes with no money. Well, I don't have any money to start. I'll be homeless. Well, if you agree to get information on Dave and the churches, I can open an informant program. I said I can do that. I didn't know I was facing a drug cartel. Okay. He said it comes with $5,000 a month. I'm opening an account today. I'll make sure no man touches you. I'll pull you out if it gets too bad. Then the immunity for life and the money for life, even when you tell. Okay. And then he said, if you try to tell someone unless you're crazy, no one will help you. That's a no way out. Okay. I told my friend that worked at the Stark County Prosecutor's Office, he laughed till he had tears. He said, for one thing, the police know they can't go along with this. He said that agent cannot bully you into false statements. It's badgering. It's obstruction to justice, tampering with witnesses, and tampering with evidence. It's a 5 to 20-year sentence on a recorded line. Him involving himself in a lie a minister made up to cover up his son's adultery and thought they got rid of a witness that seen him. And him involving himself in heresy. and lunacy of that church. A minister made it up because he thought I caught his son in adultery. And because it blew up great big, he was still telling it 15 years later. And a federal bureau investigator involving himself in heresy and lunacy. How could he even fall for that? Even the cops that watch me, how could that agent fall for that minister's lie? His IQ was so low. And plus, he was a minister, not a doctor. He wouldn't know what he's talking about. Exactly, he made it up. Okay? My friend from the prosecutor's office, he said, and another thing is, the only thing legal that agent did on that recorded line was list your informant with money and immunity. He said, and as far as the FBI, they can never legally drop you. They try to drop you, and the Department of Justice will put them in jail. Once the government agrees to protect you, they cannot unprotect you. They can put you in another witness protection program. But if they try to drop you, the Department of Justice will put them in jail. So failure to protect is abuse and misconduct. He said, and if you work 5 minutes a case, an hour a case, they owe you for the rest of your life. Okay? And you're in immunity the rest of your life. He said, and then as far as him telling you can't tell anybody, he's only a higher cop. He's a higher police officer, higher law enforcement. That's it. It takes a sitting judge to put a gag order on you. And no sitting judge would sign a court order taking your freedom of speech away. It's a constitutional right. The Department of Justice would put that judge in jail. He said he can't even ask you to stay quiet. He was only bullying you. I said, well, they already knew. With his own admission of Pete, Dave told Danny hired Pete on his own. Who made up that lie? Strange. So he'd been talking to Strange and Dave. With his own admission, he had been talking to Strange and Dave. Okay? And he's, my friend from the prosecutor's office said you can tell whoever you want and they can't say a word to you. He was only bullying you. With his own admissions on a recorded line, he had been talking to Strange and Dave. And laughing how I'm being scammed by my rapist. Then it's going to come down to how could, where they made, the cult made fun, Lighthouse Tabernacle made fun of FBI agent John, June 7th, 23 at Walmart 62, 10, 11 o'clock in the morning. Tape and audio. They tape and audio through the whole store. They sold videos of them mocking the fats. FBI agent John fell for the stun at tapes before. Oh, come on now. That FBI agent actually fell for stun at tapes before. You're kidding. It was only a stunt. A satanic one. Having me drugged, beaten, raped, sold on porn sites, photoshopped a shower scene, set off a hate crime. They should have been arrested the first day for RICO charges. Drugs, kidnapping, rape. They should have instantly. And Dave hiring a hitman. They should have been nailed to that agent's desk. They can't just hire someone to break in somebody's home and do it. Okay? That agent stole all my money. Right now we're at $300,000. He's the one that had to sell the login to the case to give him the technology to listen through my phone, my car speakers, and the login to the case. I taped him the other day in the background, admitting they sold the login to even other towns, and that Will was going to lie for him. That's where people are finding out where Will was saying he taped me before, where I talked to Officer Reinhardt Louisville. Even the FBI would go to jail outside a protected lie case with statements. It's the Fourth Amendment in the Constitution, basically. So it's a right to privacy. Nobody can be in your home. Except for protected lie cases with statements, and that agent had agreed to protect you. What they were talking about is where he bullied me into saying I was faking I was sick or he wouldn't help me. You either say it or I won't help you. Him involving himself in a minister's lie to cover up his son's adultery. He He's the only one that made it up. David already told Pamela, my wife really was sick years ago, and we got documents to prove it. He said, good to know. So who was he talking to? Strange. They admitted to talking to Pete, Dave's higher hitman. So they were talking to Dave. My friend from used to work at the prosecutor's office said that they had to pay off that agent big time. Pat his pocket good for him not to arrest him. Because he's made fun. Him and that John and Will, they have made the FBI look like fools. I was in Trinity Gospel on Sunday. Nobody's to say a word to her. They made fun of the feds for falling for this. How could they fall for it? It was done by child molesters, crackheads. It was done by the drug cartel. The main cop over the case was talking to a lady outside of Kohl's about a month ago on a Tuesday and said, none of this, and he was talking so loud out in the parking lot, none of this is funny. The FBI left her up there. We weren't allowed to tell her they left her. She said, did her ex-husband defend her? He said, yes. We taped him. So did I. Defended me several times. My whole family spoke highly of me. Okay? Found innocent of everything in 18. He said, has anyone ever talked to her? She said, no. He said, no. He said, then they really did frame her before. He either said it's documented or verified it. She was framed before. Okay? And she said, no, this is funny. The FBI left her up there. He said, I know it's not. Was it the drug cartel doing it to her? He said, yes, we seen them. He said someone started saying nobody was allowed to help her. And it got around, and we were only randomly checking on her. We went back through everything and found out everything that happened to her. And everybody feels bad. She said he said, and it was a medication error, and it is documented that it was a medication error that made her sick before. And it is documented that another woman was using her insurance. She said, no, this is funny. The FBI left her there. He said, I know it's not. It's a drug cartel down here lying. People were talking in the laundromat about a month ago. Who would have thought it was the drug traders, human trafficking people down here lying on them? They have told them that since 18. You do realize that's where... How could those agents fall for it? Some lady had already said they already knew everything was Photoshopped. That's why they were giggling. Then why didn't they arrest him for drug beat and raping me? And get me the hell out of here. My one friend that's a sheriff, you should have been put in a safe house the first day. And is your local police slow? Because that's where you've got to think about where my friend from the prosecutor's office, that FBI agent don't have enough authority to ask you to stay quiet. He's only higher law enforcement. He's the higher police officer. It's like Army guys, from the private to the colonel to the general. There are still Army men. They all belong to the Army. Well, law enforcement police officers goes local for their local area, sheriffs for counties, state for the state highways. Okay, then we get into federal police officers that can work anywhere in the United States. Secret Service police, Federal Bureau of Investigators, and marshals. Hmm? He's a federal cop. That's where my friend at the prosecutor's office, from the prosecutor's office, laughed how he had tears in his eyes. That agent don't even have enough authority to ask you to stay quiet. I said, well, they already knew. He said, I don't care. It takes a sitting judge to put a gag order on you. And per Constitution, they can only do it during like sequester juries, grand juries. He was only bullying you. Last year, it was on the news. Some other FBI agent out of state tried to tell one of their informants they couldn't say anything. They got an attorney and sued him. The press ripped him a new one nationwide. If that agency ever thinks it can tell one person they can't say anything, the Department of Justice better shut them down. They're only hire law enforcement. They're hire police officers. That's it. They're federal police officers. And they were calling for them to be shut down if they ever tried it again. Because they don't have the authority to do it. Like my friend from the prosecutor's office, he was just bullying you into staying quiet so they get away with it. You can tell whoever you want in any witness protection program, and they can't say a word. And they can't legally drop you at all. They have to protect you the rest of your life, or the Department of Justice will put them in jail. You will stay an informant for the rest of your life, unless they put you in another witness protection program, and they have to talk to you first. You're owed the money for the rest of your life for working 5 minutes a case, an hour a case. You agree to try to get them information. You risk your life. They have to take care of you the rest of your life. That agent stole the money. They have been talking about him stealing the money since 19. Now I'm going to go ahead and upload this. Anybody with a login, go on the Department of Justice, submit a complaint, the NSA, the CIA, anybody to get someone else down here. Some other guy showed up down here last week, and or this last few days, and he was talking to somebody in town. Said, she sent in a tape, you can hear him in the background admitting to selling the login. Did Will sell the login? The guy said, yeah. We all know what's going on. Nobody's allowed to say a word to her. Now, is it funny that they didn't arrest some drug traders, human trafficking people, child molesters, serial rapists breaking in people's homes, roofing them so they're sleepwalking, tell them to say something stupid, beating, raping them, and then sex traffic videos of that poor person in the bathroom and the shower, in bed with a partner? Make money on porn sites? Do you think it's funny that the FBI didn't arrest them for their crimes and photoshopping a shower scene and their sextortion scheme? That's why they left at the FBI for falling for it. I thought SWAT teams, they'll arrest them, right? Nothing. Everybody turned them in. One of my client out in North Canton, they were outside, said, I called someone. And they told me that none of this is funny. She's an informant. See, like my friend from the prosecutor's office, they can never legally drop you. The Department of Justice will put them in jail for even when you tell. Then threaten me if I don't. Because he was only bullying me. I'm going to upload this.